In Italy, time can be measured in centuries, over generations, or in tenths of a second. Motorcycles are a national passion. One brand, MV Agusta, has an illustrious past. But it's facing financial ruin until one man and his son decide to save it.
My father can be described as someone completely crazy, in a good way. He's more creative and I'm more on numbers.
Together, they decide to build a new, more affordable MV Agusta sport bike. A motorcycle designed for maximum speed and handling performance, on the street or on a racetrack. But can they do it? Or is it already too late? Varese, Italy, home to the patriarch of a local family and his son, Claudio and Giovanni Castiglioni. Their company, MV Agusta, is at a crossroads. Because sometimes Claudio's passion for what he calls motorcycle art blinds him to reality.
Claudio tried to do things without thinking will be profitable or not.
When the Castiglionis buy MV Agusta, the first sport bike Claudio builds is the F4, with a large four-cylinder engine. It's exotic, expensive, and clearly Italian.
We're going to the experimental site. I don't have the key. It's our top range. It's the best of the best.
It sells for twice as much as the average motorcycle, and more than some cars.
Over 200 horsepower, 201 exactly. 0.2. It's fully equipped with the latest technology.
The market for very expensive motorcycles is small. A bad world economy only makes it worse.
I think it's one of the worst moments that motorcycle industry saw in the last year. So if you have still new models, a new market to challenge is the key to surviving.
So father and son decide to create a less expensive three-cylinder bike. They simply call it the F3. Claudio is betting it all on the F3, a bike designed to match competitors' prices, but still carry the MV Agusta mystique.
I pushed a lot for this with this project. We're still pushing. We still haven't delivered the first bike, so we're still pushing.
We sell only 5,000 bikes is not enough. We need to go at least above 10,000 bikes.
The F3 is an Italian motorcycle that isn't designed in Italy. It's designed in the Republic of San Marino, a tiny enclave of 61 square kilometers that's completely surrounded by Italy.
My name's Adrian Morton, and I'm a senior designer for MV Agusta. We're here at the Castiglioni Research Centre in San Marino. This is where Everything, apart from the engine on the MV Agusta product, is developed. From the frame, the styling, everything that isn't the engine is developed in these four walls.
Adrian is a great designer. He has quite a difficult character because you have to be careful when you say, maybe I don't like this so much, but look what he did.
Claudio is less concerned with feelings at the design studio. He lets everyone know what he thinks and what he wants.
I generally get the impression that he's waiting to 7:30 in the morning so he can call me, because sometimes he really genuinely has called me before getting into work to tell me, you know, oh, I'm not too sure about this, I'm not too sure about that.
How to develop the body, how the shape of the bike, that it's the focus of Claudio and that it's what Claudio is doing.
He has incredible views, visions of the future.
It takes several years to finalize the F3's body, frame, and suspension.
This is maybe 4 years ago. It's an idea of, we had the engine and we say, let's see how we can fit it in a bike. This bike was done by my father, who loved to be a perfectionist.
Paolo Castiglione, when he's paid visits here to see maybe some doubt has been left in his mind about a certain aspect of the bike. You know, I can name hundreds of aspects that perhaps weren't to his taste initially.
My father used to always ask advices from everyone, but then he'd do his own way.
Well, this is our model making shop.
Designing the overall shape of the F3 follows designing the individual pieces of the bike.
Okay, this is Giancarlo, who's one of our model makers. He's doing some final surface finishing to a fuel tank. I think it's important that this hands-on kind of aspect remains, because it really does make the difference how you perceive the final component, if you like. Fundamentally, an MV Agusta should be sexy, and I think this fuel tank, when it's painted, looks sexy, dare I say.
They follow the same process from a basic model to a handmade finished piece for every part of the bike, including the swing arm, which connects the frame to the rear wheel.
And this, in a way, kind of sums up our design process, starting from a design model. And from this styling model, this is a component that's been handmade in metal, that was actually applied to a test bike. The technical layout of the bike, the frame, the swing arm, and the wheels, they are the first components that need to be constructed before we can move on with the styling.
Then they scan every part into computers.
Here we can see the design of the rear swing arm that we saw in the workshop.
They test in the lab, but the best tests are on the racetrack. With some 60 sensors attached to critical parts of the bike.
This third model is our cast model that basically allows us to evaluate the direction of the final sign-off component. This is actually rigged up with strain gauges.
Between all of these steps, we had a structural calculation.
Surprisingly, going flat out on a racetrack isn't the most stressful time for the bike's structure.
The most severe condition, as strange as it seems, is not when you ride at high speed. The most severe forces that act on the swing arm and frame is when you hit a big bump on the road at low speeds.
At MV, form not only follows function, but beauty.
The characteristics of the length and the rigidity of the bike will have an impact on the dynamics of the vehicle. But obviously it has to look great as well. So the styling is fundamental to something on an MV, like the swing arm. You know, swing arm on an MV Agusta should be something really quite special.
Computers fill the second floor of the building. Here, 12 people spend a full year converting the F3 into digital files. They begin with individual parts, like the fuel tank, then move on to the entire motorcycle.
Caso di F3, la moto è estremamente...
The F3 model is a real compact bike. For this reason, we have a real small dimension of the fuel tank, and to achieve some capacity, we had to build an extension of the fuel tank on the rear part.
The F3 is so compact, they need to use the area under the seat as part of the fuel tank.
This is the saddle for the people. Inside we have a fuel tank.
It's time for science to meet art. Designing the F3 is a strange combination of high-tech software and classic sculptor's tools used to create a full-size model of the bike out of clay.
How it starts off life, if you like. I mean, it's just like a brick, if you like, this solid material.
And then, step by step, the bike comes out.
We apply this clay material on the structure, and that basically is, forms a starting point. The clay is about the styling, but it has to fit around all these fixed points. All these things have to be considered when you're actually designing the bike. From day one on the F3, we started off with the technical components. It forms a skeleton of the bike. It's like creating a person. You don't start with the skin, you do start with the bones, if you like. The cool thing about having a clay model is you can actually sit on it physically and you can, as a designer, get a feel for what the bike's going to be like. The best thing about this kind of, actually riding a bike, you can actually check all your positions. And I love motorcycles. I'm not just a designer. First I loved motorcycles, then I became a designer.
Claudio and the F3 are stars of the 2010 Milan Motorcycle Show. The F3 is voted the most beautiful bike there. So far, the Castiglione father and son plan is working.
We have clients that are 18 years old with the new F3. A few years back, these kids, they were kids. They didn't even know what was MV because MV was closed for 30 years.
But fate is about to turn the MV world upside down. The MV Agusta F3 is Claudio Castiglione's latest masterpiece. But as destiny would have it, he never gets to ride it. In August 2011, just weeks before the bike is scheduled to go into production, Claudio Castiglione dies.
You think about, oh God, what I do now?
Until the very end, his dream consumes him.
The last conversation, and he was not far from his death, maybe one day before. So we talked about bike a long time, till the end. I always said, for me it's impossible to think of a life without my father.